Hi everyone, Jasper Basson here, founder of Dryk Holdings and the financial director of Elite Optimizers. About a year ago, I started interviewing entrepreneurs, sports stars, celebrities, people that I inspire and people that I believe influence the community. I've started this process of interviewing various influential people on their morning rituals and daily habits, really just to give back to the community that really supported me for many years in Dryk Holdings and Elite Optimizers. But the value I received from those 23 people was really inspiring for me. And I always say, if I can only take one real awesome point from all 23 influential people that I've interviewed, I have 23 awesome great new ideas. And that's what this channel is all about morning rituals and daily habits of really inspiring people. So what I've done is, I really took my 23 highlights of each and every person that I've interviewed and compiled one big video of the highlights of everybody. So here goes, I hope you enjoy this. Don't you agree that sometimes a business that grows organically is actually, you can control it much better than sometimes if a business grows too fast, you tend to sometimes run into cash flow problems just because you do that.
That is my motto. I am super conservative. So I'll use what I make today to do something tomorrow. I don't like extending myself. So if you're in a hurry, you can get stuck. So with us, with everything we've done, any business, my new branches that I opened up, the first thing people will say, but it's quite slow at the new branch and it's not that busy and they don't see advertisements. And I always say to them, I open them up slowly and then I know that 5-6 years from now they've grown into what their potential is, then go out with a big bang with great expectations and then do something wrong. So the organic growth is definitely a model that works for me. I've got many tips for entrepreneurs. I'm very fortunate to be in a business which is on the ground. So you speak to Umi that's making some bird feeders in his back garden or in his backyard, and you're also speaking to suppliers that supply big national brands. So we meet a lot of entrepreneurs, and I find 90% of them that come and see me to do business with us are unprepared. So they just lack the basic skills of what is needed, and unfortunately people are set in their ways sometimes, and then when you want to give them a positive advice, some of them take it personal, or they don't take it the way they should. So the first tip I could give anybody is listen to what somebody's trying to tell you, even if you don't agree with what that person is saying. Just at least hear him out. Be open to criticism and take it for what it is. It's not personal. There's many times people will think that if you've got some advice to give them, they take it personal. If you think they've done something wrong, they can feel that you're personally attacking them. It's not that. So listen to advice and learn from it. Even if you're not going to implement it, just keep that in your back of your mind. And then the next one is be prepared. We would have so many new entrepreneurs coming to see us, and we'd ask them the most basic questions and things you'd think they would think through, and they're not prepared for that. Pricing structures, markups, silly questions, or for they think it's silly questions. It's very important to a businessman to know exactly what your plan is and what you want to do. So make sure you're prepared. So you're going to listen to him and you're going to be prepared when you go and see him, because it's a bad impression. I will sometimes think I don't actually want to do business with somebody because he feels like he's so unprepared for his presentation today. How's it going to be in the future doing business with him? And the third one, and that's pretty crucial. Don't run before you can walk. Think and ask basic questions. If you want to know something about your product, don't ask your mother, don't ask your wife, don't ask your kids, don't ask your friends, because they will give you an answer which you want to hear. So don't ask any family. If you think the branding is nice or you think the product is good, don't be shy to go out into the face of the public and go and ask people's opinion. It's exposing yourself to sometimes what you don't want to hear, but that's the most important thing I can say to any person. Go out there, show the people what you want to do. If you have to explain too much of what the product is you're selling, you've got a problem already. So just make sure that you speak to people and don't be, some people are scared somebody's going to copy them. Yeah. So they'll rather want to keep this big secret back. Don't. Show it out there, and because otherwise you can spend a lot of money. And before you spend money, don't spend money. Don't spend money. Advice is free. People's opinions are free. Don't spend the money. Do the printing, develop the product until you got everybody's opinion.
So Blair Singer is one of Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad advisors, and Blair wrote a book called Sales Dogs, and it's not that popular in South Africa, which I don't know why. When I did the test and I read the first book, Sales Dogs, I decided that, listen, this is, every salesperson out there should do this test, because just like sales, everybody can sell. I mean, if you look at the world nowadays, every job has some sort of sales aspect towards it, and anyone can sell. If you know what type of breed you are, you know what is your strengths and what your weaknesses are. So Blair's got this analogy where he divides people into 5 different breeds: Pit Bull, Labrador, Basset, Chihuahua and Poodle. And if you do the test, you can actually see that if you are 70% of one breed, or 60%, 30%, 10%, it shows you the strengths and your weaknesses, and then you would know what to do or how to perfect your natural sales ability. Because people go for sales training and you have 30 people in the class and all 30 get trained the same way. How can they sell the same way if they have different breeds? Yes, there's a principle of selling, there's an ABC of sales, but to really get into the psychology of what you should do or the type of salesperson that you can become, you should know what breed you are.
Makes sense. And also the person that you
the person that you need to pitch to. It's a three-way thing. It's what breed you are, what breed your customer is, what breed your colleague is, what breed your boss is. You know exactly how to treat all of them if you know what breed they are.
Thanks. And then lastly, just 1 or 2 tips for startup entrepreneurs that really want to start now and not really sure what's around them as being an entrepreneur.
You know, it's taking me back to when I started, and it's always a decision that you got to make, because I was in the modeling and the acting industry, and then I went corporate for about 2 or 3 years, worked properly in a company, and the day I decided to be an entrepreneur, I thought it's gonna because you're doing it for somebody and you're getting paid a good salary, so you think you can do it for yourself as well, and that's a mistake that a lot of us make. But I would first say that any entrepreneur out there, and maybe this is not the answer you want, that it's not for everybody, you know.
No,
and this is what I saw over the years, that we're all made for some sort of work, and that's actually one of Rumi's quotes. I follow Rumiism. Rumi says that everybody out there has been made for certain work. Some can work by themselves and they can take the roller coaster ups and downs, because it's difficult. You know, I go through months where I actually sit there and I say, you know what, maybe I should take that offer as a sales director at the company, because I get pitched all the time from big companies to be sales director. And then there are times where you're going, listen, this is the best thing ever. So you go through an insane roller coaster journey. If you do make that decision that I am going to become an entrepreneur, you got to know that it can't be for the money. It's got to be for the game. And I keep telling people that I live for the game. It's the game between people. It keeps me alive. If it's not about the game and it's only about money, stick to your day job, because you're going to fall flat on your face, and you're going to cheat yourself and your family out of being able to pay the bills, and you know, you're going to go through stress. If you think your job is stressful and being an entrepreneur will be easy, you've got another thing coming. So you've got to be mentally tough, and you've got to know that it is about the game between people. It keeps me alive, and that's what as an entrepreneur, that is what I think should be your top trait. Make it about the game. If you enjoy the game, go for it. If you don't, rather don't step into entrepreneurship.
I actually have 3 morning rituals that I do. First one is my personal one, second one is the business one, and then a third one is with my wife, because it's very important for me to spend quality time with the morning routine with her as well. So I think what entrepreneurs should stop doing is trying to be the best. So if I ask someone, what is, according to criteria, what is the best restaurant around in town? They will say, according to criteria, this restaurant. Then you can ask him, how many times a month do you go there? He will say, maybe once a month, maybe every 2 months. If you ask him, what is your favorite restaurant? He will easily say, oh no, there's this place. How often do you go there? Oh, at least once a week. So what is the best album ever recorded? People say it is the Beatles' White Album. Do you own it? No, not a lot of people own it. What is your favorite band? No, my favorite band is U2. So I will often listen to U2. So by stopping trying to be the best, because if you're not the best, if you're the second best next year, you're nothing. But if you're the favorite, there's no criteria for favorite but it's my criteria. So this is my favorite. So if you try to be the favorite in your industry to use, then obviously you will do some things different. You will give your excellence so that it's easy to work with you, so that you're giving innovative products or innovative services. So I think it's stop trying to be the best and focus on being the favorite.
What I love about it is that you are drawing attention to the importance of having proper or correct morning rituals. For in order to be successful, I believe, as an individual, as an entrepreneur, as anybody in any field, you've got to start your day out correctly. And I had to learn that the very hard way. I think I only learned it after 2 pregnancies, when I was forced to get up early in the morning and feed my children, that I realized there's a new energy in the morning. There's an energy that's palpable. There's an energy that's, what I say, addictive. And there's an energy that if you get into your system early in the morning, you're going to use it to fuel your entire day. So my morning rituals are really to get up at 5 a.m. You were quite right. And I read about that in various different books. And I thought, why not? If everybody else is doing it, what is my excuse? So I do get up at 5, latest 5:15. And I start my morning with a really nice prayer. I'm a very spiritual person. I'm Christian. And I love talking to God early in the morning. So I would just find a quiet spot somewhere in my home and pray and have a good conversation with God about the way I'm feeling, thankful about the night that I've spent, my children, their health, my husband, our business, everything that He's blessed us with. And then I start journaling, because then I feel really grateful for lots of things in my life that I've been blessed with. My business, my relationships, the potential I have to do so much more. And then I start journaling about ideas that I have. So I would just start writing every different idea that comes into my head. And this has worked tremendously well for me, because I've had ideas like you to interview people, to start little motivational talks, to speak to people about specific areas. And I would just write those down. And I started acting on those ideas. So a huge part of my morning motivation and my morning ritual is to get up, say my prayer, and start writing. Because I think that energy that comes at that part of the morning, you're not going to get during the day, because you're so busy and you're so distracted by so much that's happening around you. I also try and do a little bit of yoga. On most mornings, I manage to do that. But if not, I try and do some sort of exercise that's going to get my blood pumping. I like skipping a lot. I like doing a little bit of aerobics just to get the cardio going and to get some fresh air into my body. And if I can get out, because my children only start getting up at about 6 or 6:30, I get out and get some real fresh air into my system. There's nothing better to me than doing that. And when I get back again, I start planning my day. What is it that I really want to achieve today? And I'm not speaking about my 6 to 8 to 10 month goals. I'm speaking about today. What are the 3 things that I have to achieve today, come what may? And if it is like today, one of my most important tasks was this interview. come what may, I've got to do this interview and I've got to deliver well. So I've got to prepare around it and I've got to present it well. I've got to do 2 or 3 other interviews or consultations. Those are my must-dos for the day. And I ensure that every day I at least do those 3 to 5 things as best I possibly can. I have this conversation about watching the news very early in the morning and devouring newspapers. And I think for me, that was a bad habit I had to move away from, and this is why. You know, I have this saying, we wash our bodies very early in the morning to cleanse ourselves to face the day. Likewise, you've got to start the morning washing your mind so that you can start the day with a clean mind and absorb everything that's positive and beautiful. But when you absorb the news that is negative, that is draining, that is nothing but positive on your system, you are tainting your mind and you are adding to your mind all that is negative. So stay away from the news very early in the morning. I'm not saying don't be aware of what's happening in the world. Browse and know what's going on later in the morning. When you're having your first cup of coffee, probably at about 10 o'clock, which is what I do, then I browse different newspapers to have an idea of what's going on. But I do not start my morning reading newspapers or watching the news on my phone or on television, because I'm sure to feel really bad about what's going on in the world. And that's not a good way to start any day.
Being a sports star is not almost, it's exactly the same as being an entrepreneur. You need to have certain morning rituals, certain daily habits, consistent training, and give us some idea of your daily rituals and habits that you use for being a sports star.
The main thing is consistency. You have to wake up driven to succeed and try and be better than what you were the day before. Every day it's not the easiest because you're constantly training, especially like now when I have like a big fight coming up, so I'm in fight camp. So I'm training twice a day. Excluding my clients, which is my strength and conditioning, my kickboxing, my grappling. So it's very challenging in that aspect, but the whole thing is just consistency. The main thing is consistency.
Knowing you, I know your mind is very strong. Any tips for any martial artist? I mean, the same principle being on for entrepreneurs as well. How do you get your mind so strong?
It's taxing at times. But the main thing is just you have a goal at the end of the day and you have to push through and try and see it through. At the end of the day, it's good to fail, but the more you're gonna approach it, the more openings are gonna come. Something is gonna break eventually. If you want it bad enough, it's gonna come. The road will never be easy where all doors are just gonna be open. It all boils down to consistency and setting your mind to what you want and your goal and going out there and getting it.
When I wake up, it's very important for me to have a glass of water first, because I love working out and I know the importance of my body. I only have one body and I need to take care of my body. It's my temple. If I don't take care of my body, I cannot continue with my day. So by taking a glass of water with lemon in it started off to flush out all the toxins in my body immediately. Before I have my morning coffee, I was only doing black coffee without sugar. Then when I get up, the first thing I also do then is, actually the second thing is I make my bed. That's a habit that actually comes from a very young age, when my parents instilled us, you have to make your bed. And now the gurus say that's one of the habits that's actually very important for people to do, because that actually also helps you to be structured in your day and in your life. Is having that. It's a very simple thing, like just making your bed. Who would thought that, you know? And then what I will do is I start my day with gratitude, like a short 5 to 10 minute meditation. And I'm always grateful that I am awake because I could not wake up. I'm grateful for my life, and I will start getting like 3 to 5 things that I'm grateful for the day. And then I will go to the gym. I love working out in the mornings, because that also, when I'm at the gym, I am not thinking about work. I'm just thinking about my workout. And while I'm on the treadmill and things, what I do is I listen to motivational speaking, like YouTube channels. like Tony Robbins or Grant Cardone or that Indian guy version, something from Mind Valley, and it's all about I am affirmations or what you need to do today to set up your daily routine. Because I realized that if I don't set my day with starting with these rituals, if I call it like that, then it's like my day turns out chaotic and I'm not in control of my day. So by setting some rituals in the morning and constantly doing this, I actually find that I'm more in control of what happens throughout the day. And not actually what happens throughout the day, but I control my emotions. I control how I react to my day. I'm setting my day. But I also want to mention that the night before I go to bed, I will plan my next day. I will diarize the main pointers. Obviously you can't diarize everything that's going to happen throughout the day, but the main pointers that I want to accomplish throughout the day. I will also, because for me, I don't know about you, but my mind is always extremely busy. And sometimes when I go to bed, I have to read or listen to relaxing music to fall asleep. My partner can just fall asleep like that, and I know my mom is also like that. When the head hits the pillow, they're gone. I'm not like that. I need to find something to switch off, and that's how I start my day. That's part of my daily routine and my daily habits. Another habit that I would advise people to do is create a not to-do list. It's in my book as well. We always hear create a to-do list. I need to do this, A, B, C, D, and E. But the not to-do list is those things that actually when you start creating a not to-do list, like you say, okay, I'm not gonna check my phone first thing in the morning. There's enough times to fry my brain with negative things and negative news. Yes. Create a not to-do list. Identify those things that is actually crippling you from reaching your goals or for reaching or be productive in the day, and write that down and say, okay, I'm not going to spend time on my phone first thing in the morning. I'm not going to talk negative to myself. All those things that you know that's actually hindering you. Create that not to-do list.
So we are busy driving here on a Chamonix farm. Bernard is busy showing me in the safari truck all kinds of things on the farm. And Bernard, just tell me, where are you going to take me today?
First of all, I'm going to go show you the game reserve. We've got about 150 hectare game reserve here on Chamonix Estate. Some of the accommodation up in the mountain, and then afterwards we're going to go down to the wine cellar.
Great. Bernard actually told me he's very excited, telling me about the new habit that he started forming for himself. So tell me about that.
Yes, so my wife always moaned that she has to make the child breakfast in the morning, and I used to always sleep a little bit later. So now I have changed my life a little bit by waking up at 5 o'clock or 10 past 5 with her, and then we make breakfast together. So make a little bit of breakfast together, sit on the stoop, have a cup of coffee, chat a little bit, and then from there on I start normally to be at work early. I like to be at work early, so I try to be at work around about 7. So, and then from 7 to 8 is normally, I call it my quiet time. So I can sit here, no phones ringing, plan my whole day, go through some of the clients that I want to see, do my emails, because at 8 o'clock normally when everybody gets to the office, it's crazy time.
And thank you for the glass of wine. Cheers.
It's a pleasure. Cheers.
It was really great spending the morning with you at Chamonix. And we're sitting here at the
private cellar. The cellar was built in 1991 but finished only in 1994. It's the first underground cell in South Africa.
The most important part is always your mindset. I say there are laggers, ziggers, zaggers and blizzards. And you must get into a mindset where you know that we are living in a world of total abundance. We were created to have a life of abundance. And the only reason why we haven't got in all areas of our lives is simply because we believe other people And then I start my daily ritual, always start with a cup of, first do the thing to clear up, and then a cup of coffee, and then I sit down and I decide what I'm going to do for the day. So I've got like a list. And nowadays, I do not have a lot of stuff to do. So I ask a question, and the question is simply, what's the most important thing that I can do today in order to get to my goal? Now, I've got several goals in several areas of my life. One of the goals is physically, I'm reasonably fit. I've set a goal on my 60th birthday, actually when I was 59, to do 60 push-ups in a row at the age of 60. And I'm maintaining that. This morning was my push-up ritual. This morning I did 60 in the one session and then 70 in the next. So I love goals. A goal is a progressive realization of a worthy goal. If you listen to Earl Nightingale, my definition, in other words, if you set a goal and at the end of the day you can look back at the day. One of my rituals at the end of the day, I'm asking 3 questions. What is it that I've done? Not what is it that I'm busy with? What is it that I've done that I can prove? And then the second question, what is it that I've learned? Because unless you learn something on a day-to-day basis, and preferably in all areas of life, that day was a waste. And then what problems that I encounter, and those problems are actually miracles sent from heaven, because the moment that you focus on a problem to overcome that problem, you have to gain the skills to do that. And once you overcome that problem turn out and will never appear. And if it appears, you've got the skills in order to be able to offset it. So those are the 3 questions that I end my day with, before I go to bed. Just recap quickly, what is it that I've done, and can I prove that I've done for the day? And by doing that, it's a progressive realization of a worthy goal, which falls into the Kaizen principle, a constant and never-ending improvement. And that means that each and every day I'm supposed to be a little bit better than what I was yesterday.
I see myself as part of the 5 a.m. club, so I try to get active as soon as possible in the morning and get myself going. I think in this world we're living in, there's a lot of distractions, and that's being a father of 2 children. I like being distracted by my family, but if you want to do proper work and if you want to have meaningful work, you have to be focused. And that's one of my strengths, is to focus. So I need to make sure I have time during the day where I actually am just focusing on what I need to do. So 5 a.m. in the morning I try to get up, or if I'm not up yet, I make sure that I get up. I try to start by just drinking water, get my metabolism going. And there's a book I read a couple of years ago called The Artist Way, and they spoke about morning notes. So I see myself as a bit of a creative. So in the morning when I wake up, I drink a glass of water, and then I take out my journal and I start writing down whatever comes to my mind. And there's no rules, I just write. And those morning notes sometimes it's a solution to a problem. So when you go to bed at night, it's almost like this: if something's still bothering you, your active mind tries to shut it out, but your subconscious mind is trying to figure out the solution to the problem. So that's one of the things I started doing a few years ago. So I just started by writing a couple of minutes, and then after that I need to get my body moving, otherwise I will fall asleep again. So I've got a 10-minute workout where it's body weight training, where I just start going. So after that I can feel all the endorphins kicking in, and my heart is racing, and then I'm ready, then I'm open. I honestly believe that motivation and inspiration is your personal responsibility. So a long time I thought it depends on someone else. My wife, it's my wife's responsibility, or my friend's responsibility to inspire me or to motivate me. Recently I just realized it's your own discipline that you need to have in your life. So that's a very important morning ritual in my life. I have to get inspiration, I have to get motivation.
I remember a while ago I read a book called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, and he spoke about bookending your days. I'm a strong proponent of developing a subconscious mind. Unfortunately, the research shows that although they're still looking for it and there's a high hope to finding free will, there isn't free will, which means the subconscious mind is driving everything, and we often consciously connect with our subconscious mind 7 seconds after we've done something. Now that's very difficult for people to deal with, because they're trying to fix actions and get different results when they've got the same computer program behind the scenes. So for me, my morning and my evening rituals are based on developing, on reprogramming my subconscious mind, nothing else. So, things vary based on phases in my life, but generally I wake up early, and I normally I'll read. At the moment, I'm working very intensively the last 6 months with Think and Grow Rich. So with enthusiasm, I recite my definite major purpose. I then recite what they call the blueprint or the self-confidence formula. I sit for 15 minutes, or I do another guided meditation just to fixate my visualization, my imagination in that space. I have a couple of affirmations. I don't keep them I used to do a lot of affirmations, but I found that it will just let you drown my mind out, so I just do that. And then I have a cup of coffee, and maybe I do 15 minutes of reading in the morning, because that's when I'm less chaotic. I say bookend because morning and evenings, before 9 and after 9 is when you do your self-development. Between 9 and 9 is when you build your business, so.
Generally, any social media, don't put your bad laundry, no matter what bad laundry it is, on social media, and never ever badmouth your current or past employers, because it will come back to bite you on social media checks that we do today. Not to scare a person off, but yeah, if you're at a party every day in the week, especially in a weekday, before work the next day, your employer's going to look at that. I think most importantly, looking after oneself's health and body is critical. We spoke just now about social media, partying, going out partying the night before a busy meeting. That's an absolute zero no for me. If I know I've got a big meeting the next morning, I make sure I get enough rest. Secondly, diet, critical. Enough protein in one's body. After all, your body is your vessel that you're using to do your work and representing yourself. So you don't have to be the sexiest looking person alive, but you just need to be healthy. Early morning ritual, most definitely coffee.
That's a good ritual.
Yeah. I think you need to be, first of all, passionate about your idea. Myself personally, I'm passionate about construction and helping others obtain personal goals in life. It gives me a good feeling knowing that I've found someone a job that they've studied for or been without for a long time, as well as adding value to my clients. So for me, passion. And secondly, communicate, and communicate. You can never communicate enough.
That's fantastic. No, I think we've spoken about this often because we like sharing ideas with regards to habits and disciplines and certain things. There's so many things that I need to work on as an entrepreneur myself. It's not easy being an entrepreneur, I think. Like people think it's this awesome thing these days is to be an entrepreneur, but it's really not easy. It's not like as luxurious as what people think. And you need to be self-driven, self-motivated. In terms of morning rituals or just rituals in general, as you said, I'm not a morning person. I've never really been a morning person. And I think that's something that I've learned to deal with. There's certain things that I do start my day off doing that are important for me. I wake up anything between 6 and 7 o'clock. I wake up more frequently at night these days because we've got a newborn. So that's changed slightly. I found that what I do like to focus on when I do get going in the morning is just to prioritize my day, which is important for me. I'm not the most structured person either, and that's not how I operate at my best. People are different. But for me, all that I like doing is just to get my day going with a sit down. I like to read my Bible, go through a few verses and so forth, so I can mentally get into the right frame of mind. I pray as well, first thing in the mornings. A lot of people that are not religious will obviously meditate or whatever the case might be. For me, prayer is a powerful way of getting my mind switched on and in tune and just in the right frame of mind. And then I prioritize my day. So I would write down what I would call the income producing activities that need to take place first thing. So that needs to consume the first part of my day activity wise is the income producing activities. I'll give you an example. Something like personal development for me is something that needs to come either before hours or after hours. That is not necessarily an income producing activity that I would want to consume my day with. So, an example, for me in my network marketing business, I need to be speaking to people daily. I need to be sharing my business and my opportunity with them daily. That is an income producing activity for me, whereas reading a book leads to efficient income producing activities, but it's not the specific activity and the practical activity that's going to get the job done. So for that I need to make time. I like doing that before I go to bed, for instance. Will be my personal development. I will read specifically for at least 20 to 25 minutes a day, done deal. But I won't let that take part of my day that I could be doing income producing activities. So I'd prioritize those income producing activities first. I'll dot them down one by one on a list, and then I'd make sure that I get through them first, and then I'll get to secondary things and tertiary things that I need to take care of a little bit later. For me, that's just a way of getting a little bit of structure in terms of my to-do list, so that I make sure that I get to the most important things. We've got a saying in our business, this is specifically with regards to personal development. A lot of people, they don't do self-development, but they do shelf development. They've got all the books, they've got all the information, but it's on their shelf, and it looks all pretty and it's all organized, but there's no real activity, So that's what I really try and focus on, and it's something that I work on daily. As an entrepreneur, you drift often because it's easy, especially if you work from home. It's easy to drift and to get consumed by things that are irrelevant. That's why I've put off the TV as well. That's just a habit that I've learned. Like we don't have TV. We watch series over weekends. But I know if I'm going to watch TV, or if there's going to be some TV, then I'm going to watch 5 overs, which is going to be where I'm going to start. Now I'll just watch 5 overs. 5 overs will become 10 overs. 10 overs will become I'll watch the entire cricket match. And then obviously there's no income producing activities being done for that day. So I try and eliminate distractions in that sense as well. But in terms of morning rituals, wake up, start my day, walk to my living room, grab my Bible, go through a few verses, do my prayer, prioritize my income producing activities, get to work. And I think the time that I lose in the mornings, because I don't wake up most times before 6, I generally do make up at night. Ek's nogals 'n nag-aapie, who can really get creative after 8, and I'll seldom go to bed before 11 actually, which is pretty different, I would say, but that's when I'm at my best. So as you said, people do differ. I wouldn't suggest people follow my way of doing things. I think I'm in the minority here, and I would really enjoy it if I could wake up earlier. I think it's a better way of going about things, but whatever works for you.
I mean, this is probably the place where real entrepreneurs are separated from people that are just, giving it a go, is your daily habits. And you have to know that you're going to have to work on your habits every single day, all the time. We are slaves of our habits. We're creatures of habits. And if you say, no, I'm not, I'm going to get out of that, or I'm tough, I'm not that, then you're just kidding yourself. We are all slaves of habits. You might as well make them good habits. So if you know you're going to be a slave to your habits, you might as well work on your habits and make them good habits, because they will create your life. One habit that really worked well for me, I learned this from my mentor, is make your calls first thing every single day. You can make your calls anytime, I guess, but if you procrastinate and you leave it for too long, or you leave it for late in the day, it doesn't happen. And I found other people that are working in jobs and so on, especially on a Monday morning. People on a Monday morning are in the mode of getting things done. I mean, this is a great question. I would strongly recommend that, people play with what works. The most important thing regarding your goals and your dreams is that you feel great when you are doing it. That's your sort of cue that you're doing it right. So if you are, if you're reading a statement that you've made and actually you're feeling terrible because you don't have petrol in your car, if you make a statement like, I'm just, I hope that one day I can have petrol in my car again. That doesn't feel great. It feels like lack and it feels terrible. So that's not a goal or a dream. You want to write down something that makes you feel inspired and wonderful and almost like, what if that could happen? Wow, if that could just ever happen to me, I would feel fantastic, and so it must inspire you, it must move you emotionally. I've got a nice story for you actually to end off. I listened to a very well-known motivational speaker recently. I saw him live. He's one of the legends, and I was privileged to see him live in Dallas, Texas. And he said, somebody did a study, I'm not sure who did the study, on some of the highest income earners in America, corporate. And they found that in a job, it would be like a company like General Motors or IBM or something like that. There would be these people that started from nothing. They came into an office and had their first interview, but they worked their way up, and today they are being paid, in some cases, 100 times more than some of the lower income people. And they wanted to know, how is this even possible? That there could be this massive discrimination, this massive, or not discrimination, but this massive gap between them and other people. And they did a study on these people, and they found out what they all had in common was this thing. This is how the interview went. Their first interview that they came in to have a job was like this. They had them in interview, the boss asked questions, checked them out, and at the end of the questions, they said, the boss asked, is there anything you would like to ask before we close? They said, yes, actually, I would like to know from you, in your opinion, now this is the employee asking the boss, I would like to know from you, in your opinion, what is the number one thing that this company needs to move to the next level? And then the boss would sit and think, and they'd say, wow, and it would always be something like, wow, if we could have a better sales force, that would be amazing. Or if we could have a better IT department, that would be amazing. Or if we could have a better social presence, or a better production line, or a better innovation, research and development department. And they said, oh, okay, fantastic. And then they went to work learning how to do that thing. They would spend on average 2 hours a day learning how to do that one thing. While other people were out partying and out having whatever, doing whatever they do, they would sit and they would study for 2 hours a day how to get good at that. And that was the one thing they all had in common. And at the end of it all, over the years, they ended up earning 100 times more than the other people.
The biggest thing I want to mention here is you must have a dream that you would actually like to change your life, something you've dreamt of, and this is what I've learned. You can't, if you've got something you really want in life which you didn't actually got now before you started this home-based business, have a dream and have a wish that you actually want to become something, or which you never had when you were still younger. There's still something, and this is possible for everybody, so you must just get out with your right foot every morning and say thanks for all the things you've got. And I had a book which my daughter gave me for Christmas once, and they say if you start your day with 10 things you're grateful for, write them down, but also write down why you are grateful for them. Mm-hmm. And that takes quite some work for your mind, but it sets you on a good platform to be happy for that day. And it's amazing actually how many good things there are if you start looking at them.
Yes.
In the beginning you think, it's not, it doesn't help, but it puts you on a platform where you never look back if you can do that. And work on yourself and just enjoy life.
Yes.
If you get out and your mindset in the mornings being grateful, you can do wonderful things. They must stop yourself in your tracks when you think negatively. Now watch your speech, because if you think positively, you can't speak negative. So if you watch your thoughts, and you must watch what you say, and it is amazing how many things I still learn watching what I'm thinking and speaking.
Hi everyone, Jasper Basson here, founder of Dryk Holdings and the financial director of Lead Optimizers. I'm sitting here with Ian Burr. He's a graphic designer and also doing various video productions, etc.
Yeah, thank you very much.
How do you like our view?
Well, it's stunning. We are sitting here at B&B at 52 in Fishhook. And as you can see, the view is unbeatable. You can't get anything similar to this. This is absolutely amazing. Yes, well, I used to get up early before I got married. I used to get up early anyway. So it's a habit my dad had. He used to wake up at 4 in the morning and answer emails and get stuff done. So by the time everyone's awake, he's pretty much done his day's work. So I sort of got into that habit as well. But now, married with kids, it's kind of different. But you still have to wake up early, but to serve the family first, then work comes later. So I'm sort of straddling between being an early bird and a night owl. But it depends what needs to be done on that particular day. But I find myself more disciplined. Even though I can work from home, I prefer going somewhere, dressing up, and going somewhere to work. You know, it makes you feel like you're actually doing something important instead of
setting the mood.
Well, when it comes to bad habits, I think for me, it's also social media based. But I'll watch like a quick video on like how in Illustrator you can do some graphic design tips and tricks. Then it'll lead into like how you can do the same thing in camera, and it'll be a lighting tutorial, and then it'll be how to talk with actors, and it'll eventually like 2 hours of my day will just be gone just watching videos, and I'll be like, oh, well, at least I've learned something. I'll try and justify it, but like I've still wasted time in the day.
Our mornings normally start between about 5 and 5:30 in the morning as well. And normally if I wake up, first thing is I would also grab a cup of coffee, the same as what Jasper does. He's also a big coffee fan. Then after that, depending on what day of the week it is, I would start my day off with some Bible reading. Now, I think that's just a book that's just alive to me. You know, there's so many stories in there, and things that we can take out of the Bible that we can take to implement in our lives. And then after that, normally on a Tuesday and a Thursday morning, I'll go for a nice run. We normally run about 5:45 in the morning, try and finish about 6:45, and then after that I catch a quick dip there at the beach, and then it's back to the house to get the kids back to school and all that stuff. And then once I drop him off at school, I normally drop him off at about 7:30, and then I take about half an hour that I just go down to the beach, and I would just sit and read a book, or just do some reflection about what I want to have, what I want to accomplish for that specific day. Now, I think it's always good to have a little bit of time in the mornings just to reflect and just to make sure that you're still on the right track, you know, with where you're busy heading and what your long-term goals are, because life is just so busy. You know, we need to make time just to reflect on those type of things. Yeah, I think my typical day when I get to the office is just to make sure that everybody's got their work sorted out for the day. And then after that, yeah, I normally also try and break up my day into certain sections where I normally try and work between about an hour and a half. And then after that, I would go have a quick stretch, maybe make a cup of coffee, and then jump back into it again. Because I think, you know, a person can only concentrate for so long, and then after that, you start becoming distracted. You know, you start losing concentration. So I think we need to manage the way that we do our work, and especially in the mornings, because the mornings are our most productive time. You know, if you don't use that time wisely, then the whole day is going to be past, and we won't be able to accomplish anything in that specific day. Yeah. So I think my biggest challenge, just business-wise, is distractions. You know, I think we spoke about it before. You know, just the way that we handle our emails and our phone calls and those type of things. You know, as soon as you have one distraction, it's easily 15 minutes out of the hour that's gone, you know, just to refocus again with what you're busy with. So sometimes if we as accountants don't want to answer our phones in the mornings, it's not on purpose, it's because we're actually working.
Yeah.
Well, when it comes to selling a business, a buyer of the business is going to look at the business and look for very specific things that they want to see in the business. And where those things are very good for the business, they're prepared to pay a better price than if those things are missing. And so what I try to do is encourage business owners right from the beginning is to think like a potential buyer, and think about the things that they would like to see in that business if they were buying it, and then set about building those things within their own business. Not only do they get the benefit of a better value business when it comes to selling it, but they get the benefit of those fundamentals within the business while they continue to run the business. So it serves them twice. You know, it's you can have your cake and eat it. One of my morning rituals, I think, from a business point of view, is emails. The emails that I write, if they're quite lengthy and quite important, I tend to write them during the course of the previous day. And the first thing the next morning, I will read those emails again just to get an idea that I still kind of understand what I was trying to say. In other words, I'm seeing it from a different perspective, and then I send it. So generally all my emails that everybody receives will be somewhere between 8 and 8:30, albeit that I've actually written it the day before. So that's kind of a thing where simply writing the emails, maybe it might take a day or two depending on the complexity of it, but then I just have a quick squiz once more just before I send it, but from a different perspective, not quite at the time that I wrote the email. Well, I tend to be both. I'm one of those that I can work quite well late in the evening when there isn't any distractions, but I do like to get up early. I get up around 5 or 5:30 depending, and there's a number of things. I do some yoga and some exercise and stretching first thing in the morning, just to get the blood flowing. I play some guitar. I play in a band, so I like to play guitar, and that kind of gets just gets that creative side going. And then just give some thought to my day as to what I want to achieve. It's not as if I'm thinking about those things for the first time. I've thought about already what I scheduled for the day, but it's just about quickly running through it in my mind and just getting a vision of having completed all the tasks that I'd like to achieve for the day. I'll just run through that and just be clear on what it is that I want to have done by the time the day is finished. One of the analogies that I often use for clients is that they're like woodcutters that don't have time to sharpen their blades. And it's taking longer and longer to cut down trees simply because their blades are sharp, are blunt, and they're not as sharp as they should be. And the analogy there is that whether it's just to take time out to relax, or whether it's to build a time and a space to be able to do certain things, like think about the future or think about what you want your business to achieve, you need to take that time out. And the idea that there's not enough time to take it out is going to work against you in much the same way as blunt blades are eventually going to work against you.
Basically a dream board is just stuff that you really want to do and stuff that you inspire. So it aspires you to be a better person and to pursue stuff. So it's places that you want to travel, people that inspire and motivate you, cars that you maybe want to drive, private jets if your dream's so big, and things that you want to achieve. And I think the more that you see that, the more your brain and the more your attitude gets ways to achieve it. The book that I just read recently, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, if there's one thing that I can take out of that book, he said the last 10 minutes before you go to bed and the first 10 minutes after you've woken up, your brain is like a sponge. It's very it soaks up everything in that last and that first 10 minutes of the morning.
Something else I know about you, seeing you training in business for many years, is that you also don't really care about competition, and you've got a very good philosophy about competition in your specific industry. Please tell me more about that.
Well, I think it's important when you, in any industry there's always competition, and that's something that can inspire change as well, because you can focus on what you do, your product, your service, and yourself for that matter. And the more you develop yourself and your business, the less the competition actually matters. If you have to compare yourself the whole time to what other people are doing and try and put them down to make you feel better, then there's something wrong in your business or in your own personal life as well. So if you can focus on what you do and how you can develop what you offer to clients, then there's no need to focus on what other people are actually doing. Once I get up, before I get up, I like to listen to some music, and the music that I listen to is very different to the traditional music that we always listen to on radio. It's on a different hertz, I think it's
hertz, that's right.
Yeah, like 852 hertz, or the other good one is 525 hertz, and it's just the rhythm that they actually produce the music on is there to assist healing and just cleanse your overall mindset, and that is a good start for me for the day. There's actually some theory behind it that 432 hertz is what music was produced at before. In the time of Hitler, they actually changed the music, I'm not completely sure, also to 444, something like that, 445 hertz, I'm not completely sure now. And that's actually to make people negative and quite depressed, and that's where music is at mostly today. So I tend to try and listen less to the typical music that we all actually do like, because it does influence how you respond to your day and to your moods. It affects your moods as well. And then once I'm up and all dressed, I come and I feed my horses and the pigs and the chickens, and that's really something that just gives me a good start to the day. And then I also like to walk barefoot. It actually neutralizes, it's basically like you're all positive and the ground is negative, and that cancels each other out. But if you do walk barefoot, you will actually feel relaxation going through your body.
So I did a bit of research on cold calling. So cold calling originates from the Depression era in 1929.
So it's very old.
In the States. It's I think it's outdated. Same with door knocking. They started door knocking and cold calling, and they had a script. This is what you tell the person, and this is how you actually move them into the yes and the yes and get the yes and box them in and kind of force them to buy your product, which doesn't seem right in this day and age in 2018. You know, we actually want people that want to do business with us. We don't want to force our business onto people and box them in, and 6 months down the line they terminate the contract or cancel because you can't really add value because you haven't determined that. So most of the strategies, unfortunately, I would say up to 90-95% of the strategy we utilize right now in South Africa is old school. It's stuff we've been taught, and guys like me are at fault. I used to do it. I used to coach teams on how to do it. How do you have the conversation? How do you get the, and I don't want to call out specific names, big operators. We know them, but we still read those books and we still implement it. And how do you apply the psychology to a person's mind, and how do you utilize certain strategies that were, I think one strategy comes from the 1918, where we would say, you don't want to leave your family in that position, do you, sir? So we use that reverse psychology to make people feel bad to buy our services and products. You know what's the challenge, Jasper, that I think we deal with? And I speak to a lot of guys on social media, and one of the first questions is, so what are you doing currently to attract clients into your business? Are you on LinkedIn? And the guys would say, yeah, absolutely, I'm on LinkedIn. Okay. Do you actually add value through LinkedIn by articles or videos or feeds or real value, not selling your services? No, don't do that because that's too salesy for me. Okay. What about Facebook? Are you on Facebook? Yeah, Facebook's a dating site. So people still think Facebook's for dating. Yeah, absolutely it is.
I'm sure some people
if you're 18 or 25 and they use it for dating, and it's brilliant for dating. I don't want to go up against Facebook. It's one of the biggest social media, but you can use it for your business. And if you use it right and you put it in front of the right person, people will start coming to you. I think the biggest challenge we deal with is adopting new technology into the way we do things. We were taught a certain way. I come from that era where we door knocked and cold called because we didn't have the internet. We didn't have all these fancy things. So that's how we had to build our businesses. But everyone was doing it, so it was acceptable. And that's the way we did it. And since the 90s and 2000s, a very small percentage of people adapted, and those that adapted are doing extremely well. They're thriving in their businesses. But 90% of people are too afraid to take that step, number one, and if they do, they don't put in the effort, because it's a lot of effort initially to get the brand out and to build your credibility and to get the name out. Once we were talking about video interviews, and when me and you first started, it was a very scary thing. But you do it and you just bridge that gap, and eventually you become comfortable with it. And as an example, when I used to write articles, and I still do the occasional article, but you'd spend 2 hours on writing a 500-word article with images, etc. I'd get around 500 interactions on an article out of about 10,000 people in my network. Video has jumped to 4, 5, 6,000 because people are, I wouldn't say lazy, but they don't want to go through the effort of reading a 5-page document.
Yeah, exactly.
So it might be lazy, it might be that they're busy, you know, everyone's busy in their day job. But when they have a 2-minute clip and that can add value, they'll quickly watch it, and there's value, and they'll interact with you, and that's how you build your credibility.
And I'm gonna ask Andrew, I know he's got various habits, very good habits. I'm gonna ask him about the bad habits as well, but for now, let's go to the good habits. I know we share a lot of the same habits. We talk about it a lot. But give me some of your good habits that you at least that you try to do every day.
So, well, thank you, Jasper. I have some good habits, but I started with mostly bad ones. So I have knowledge of both sides, and I'm reminded of Aristotle's quotes that, and the quote goes something like, "We are what we repeatedly do." Then success is not an action but a habit, which I believe to be true. And for me, those are getting up early and working out. What I do every day is I get up at 4:45. Then I study for roughly an hour. I'm busy doing a business degree, and then after that I work out for about 45 minutes. And what I find is by the time I get to work, my brain's going, my body's going, everything's at optimum. So I find that fantastic. The main thing to remember with social media, it's a great business tool. It's a nice social tool, but it's very shallow. We know that we need to resist the desire to drink alcohol the whole time. There's a time and a place for it, and we know it can become a problem. And to me, we've got to understand social media almost in the same way. It doesn't have to be a problem. Just as you can drink, and it can actually, your 2 glasses or a glass of wine a day can be beneficial to your health. A bottle a day is not. So it's not the what, it's the how, and I think social media is exactly that.
If you add value to your suppliers, your employees and your customers, making money will always be the result of doing good work. So making money is not necessarily the focus of our business, it is the result of good business. I would say one of the most important things in your evening and morning habits would be not to make it too complicated. Don't work out a regime that makes it difficult for you to stick to, because then you fail, and feeling a failure is never a good thing. So 2 very important things for me in the evening before I switch off is, first of all, reflect on what happened to you that day, separate the good and the bad, and then when you think about the bad things that happened or the things that turned out the other way than you expected or wanted it to be, apply your mind and your creativity to how can you make this better, and how can you take control and advantage of the situation. It isn't necessarily negative. Your first perception of it is only negative. And then secondly, for me the most important is envision your next day. Have your diary set for the next day. My diary is strictly set 6 o'clock every afternoon for the next day. And what is on there, that is priority, and if there's time left, then I would see or give attention to other agendas. But that for me is a strict rule. And then before I switch off in the evenings, I envision what is going to happen, who am I going to see, what am I going to say to them, and most importantly, envision the goal for that specific day. Every day in your life, it's a given. You receive it for free, but you will never have the ability to repeat it. So make the best of what is in front of you for that day. And to do that, for me, I have to set definite goals. In other words, I don't really strive for big goals. I take it a day at a time, and you make a success of that day. There's no, tomorrow's another day for me. For me, every day is important.
funny enough, I went to a little slow market in Muizenberg in Cape Town, and I picked up this awesome book, In Praise of Slow, by a man called Carl Honoré. And I'm very honored today to have him on my show today. Thank you very much for joining me.
Great to be here.
It's quite funny when I read the book. One of the things while you were busy writing or publishing the book, you actually got a speeding ticket. So
Yeah.
It's a nice ironic conflict.
Yeah, which just goes to show that I needed to write that book for my own sake, if nothing else.
I know your story about where it all began, standing in the queue at the airplane, waiting for your departure, reading an article about the 1 minute bedtime story. Could you just tell my viewers where this whole slow movement and the book of In Praise of Slow came from?
Well, for me, it started with a very personal thing, which was I was at that moment stuck in fast forwards. Every moment of my day was a race against the clock, and I think like a lot of people, when you get stuck in roadrunner mode, it can be hard to break out of it. You get your head down and you just go faster and faster. And I was in that really awful place of every moment of my day a race against the clock, and I realized that I'd lost my bearings and my compass when I started literally speed reading bedtime stories to my son. So my version of Snow White had 3 dwarfs, right? And so I read about this book in the queue at the airport, the 1 minute bedtime story, Snow White in 60 seconds, and caught myself actually thinking, this is a great idea. I need the book now, Amazon, drone delivery. But then, the second question came to me and I thought, light bulb over the head. Wow, has it really come to this? Am I really in such a hurry? I'm prepared to fob off my little boy with a soundbite instead of a story at the end of the day. And that was where everything kicked in for me. That was the moment of epiphany. I realized I just lost my mind and started investigating not only my own addiction to speed and busyness and distraction and multitasking, but everybody else's. And the outcome was a book that shows that there is another way, which is what people call slow.
Lately, I've been really focused on reading books regarding neuroscience and the subconscious mind. And I came across a very, very good book, a very hard book for me to read, very challenging, and which is not a bad thing, but a really challenging book, and it's called Switch on Your Brain by Dr. Caroline Leaf. I'm really grateful to have her on my show today. Thank you very much for joining me.
Our mind is not our brain is separate from our brain. And that's very important to understand, that our mind is not our brain. And our brain is only a physical substance it's a responder to the mind. But to make something change in our life, a successful habit, like I call my latest book, Think, Learn, Succeed, you need to be able to use the power of your mind to rewire the brain. And that's not a quick fix. And we live in an age where we know technologically it's just so easy to get so much information at your fingertips, but we gather information like puzzle pieces, but we don't take the time to build the puzzle, to think deeply. And if you don't think deeply, you don't activate the non-conscious stores of your mind correctly, where our memories are stored, and then they won't move to the subconscious, which is just below consciousness, and then they won't move into the conscious mind, or they'll move in a very haphazard way.
Any tips on how business people need to manage social media?
Yeah, it's a disciplined approach, because it's very beneficial. Social media is a fantastic tool, and technology, but it's just controlling it, because whatever you think about the most will grow. So you will merge with your environment. And what the danger of using social media incorrectly is that we design for deep intellectual thought. So if you're constantly scrolling through Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and never really reading an article in depth or really thinking about something in depth, you actually cause this firing up, and it's an unsettling kind of pattern that you create in your brain that makes you feel almost anxious and unsettled. So that's why it's better to say, okay, I'm going to do social media now, I'm going to do my emails now, I'm going to do this now, and then put it down. And so you have very disciplined times during your day that you don't constantly get on your phone in a very reactive way. It must be more planned, more organized. In fact, in this book, both of these books, I talk about social media from different angles, and I have examples and activation tips on how to manage social media in your life. And that's one of the very big tips you'll see I keep on stressing is regulate everything. Don't just randomly do it. It's so easy just to carry your cell phone around, and to just respond to every beep and little noise that comes off the phone and keep looking at it. Discipline yourself. Don't look at it that often. Time it. that I'm going to look at social media in these time periods during the day, and try and stick to that, and try and limit the amount of time, and try and also another thing that I brought my kids up doing, and I train a lot of corporate environments, and I train in education, and I train in churches, and I train all over the world in different environments, is I always say balance your reading with your social media. So in other words, like if you're going to be scrolling through, there's not much thinking that's involved there. So make sure that you read and think about what you've read. Read, if you're reading using Kindle or your social media, try also grab a book sometimes and read out of a book. It's a very, very good experience for your brain. And not just read it, think about it. Stop, even if you read one page. Taking the time to stop and think is very, very important for brain health and mind health.
Many Christians are confused regarding the topic of meditation and often see it as an Eastern ritual. How can Christians utilize meditation?
Well, I think we mustn't be scared of it. It's often a lack of knowledge and ignorance about what the term means that people get frightened about something. And, the association, meditation is a vital component of any human function. In my thinker mindset, which is one of the first mindsets, if you don't actually take time every day to meditate, to think deeply, to just be aware of your surroundings and just to switch off to the external and switch on to your mind, your brain will actually break down. The circuits in your brain will actually fall apart. And if you want to take it from a Christian perspective, David meditated. So meditation is just getting in that space where you find out what's going on in your head and get order in your thoughts, and you also get creative, and it's fantastic for boosting brain health and for boosting creativity and for boosting mind health. We should do it frequently during the course of a day. Like very often I'm in a meeting and I'll go zone in and out into a thinker moment, into a meditative moment, or to reboot the brain. And then also frequently during the day, at least one 15 to 16 minute period in the day I'll take. And I recommend that, and that's what the research shows, to just meditate with nothing, no phones, computers, nothing, just relaxing. Just meditate, just getting your mind, it becomes very active. When you switch off to the external, the internal networks of your brain really become very active. So it's a vital and healthy and very important human function.